Oh my Lord.
Mommy yummy. Hey everyone, we are live and we are talking about these yummy Dunkin Donuts deliciousness. And we are talking about big brand, small business. Dunkin Donuts America runs on Dunkin. Myself and TeeCee Okore. We've been having these conversations just to make sure that we really dig deeper into the brands.
Mhm.
Is my connection acting funny? And having
Yeah,
some history talk about this. We've been talking about the ins and outs of the big brands, what they have done from the beginning, and how they started off as a small business like ourselves, like you and I. We all have, desires and dreams of how we want our businesses to look, and we're going to drive the ship. So I look at some of these businesses that like Dunkin' Donuts, right? And I was telling TC, I was just anticipating my coffee this morning because it feels, there's an air of convenience there when I get the same coffee in the morning and, the same little, and I just took a big bite of my everything bagel bites, right? And TC's like, you should do like a demonstration, like and I'm like, no, girl, I'm just eating. Like, I love food, but I really feel like we have to understand that, people buy, these brands because of the convenience, the feeling that they give. And it comes from really them learning over time, how they enter the market. So my name is Allegra. I'm the marketing medulla, and I'm a business coach and marketing strategist. Been an entrepreneur for many years, and I absolutely love supporting women-owned businesses. If you are a woman and you're in business and you're just like, hey, listen, like I need to make 6 and 7 figures. I really want to make sure that my family has legacy. I want to be sustainable. I want to really, really build a team. Then I am that type of coach. And I feel like we have to start learning how to do better in building teams because a business does not survive alone, just by being ran by one person. But I teach those things in my programs, and I work with amazing individuals like Miss TeeCee Okoro here. I always say your name like I try to roll the R, but TeeCee, she'll tell you who she is in a moment. TeeCee, let us know. And as you're sharing this live, because I'll be sharing it as TeeCee speaking, share it to your friends and whoever you know drinks and eats at Dunkin' Donuts. We're going to have a discussion. And TC, you have the mic. Let us know what you do and who you are.
I love it. And while we're also talking about who we are and also getting into the topic, do not forget to tag Dunkin' Donuts because Allegra actually has some in there. So please do tag. I'm trying not to have as many as I can, so we just have it in the fridge for the kids. And earlier, I was telling Allegra that my first son would be like, "Mommy, yummy." So she should do that as well, because for some reason that makes when you chew the donut more, yeah, you see what Allegra is doing. Yeah, that's just like, yummy. I'm sorry, y'all. Like, it just brings back those, really good experience with the kids. But my name is TC. I'm a systems implementation strategist. When it comes down to getting the work done in your business, from your systems, your launches, automation, ensuring that you're structuring your business up, like literally setting your business up for success, ensuring that you're attracting the right people, you're understanding your target audience, you're getting them into being that repeat paying customers of yours. That's my space. Okay, that's what I love. I literally love being at the back end of your business because that's where the money is. Talking about the back end of your business, if there's anything that I understand is the fact that you want to also keep staying in tune with how these, in quotes, big brands operate for you to be able to level up your business. In the previous episodes of this particular series is we keep talking about how as small business owners we should level up our infrastructures, level up our operations, just because we attack small business. Now, just so you know, like Allegra would always say, you're small business because you are maybe between 1 to 20 employee. You're not small business because you're small, right? Mm-mm. Just because you have that tag doesn't necessarily mean that you have to operate in that manner. You could have that tag just, what it is as small business, but you're operating as a big brand going forward the big things. So that's basically what we're going to be breaking down today, how you're able to analyze and align what these big brands are doing and how you're able to either correct it for your business or use it in refining your business operations to get the best out of your business. Literally, see that growth and momentum in your business. Okay, so this is just a brief introduction, but I need Allegra to time in with all the juicy parts about Dunkin Donuts, and we'll just go straight into it. There's so much to learn, literally so much. Over to you, Allegra.
There is so to some of our win groups. Yeah, let TeeCee help me out, share it to the Women into Networking Win community, and of course, we want our community members to see this live. We want you to share in all of your amazing, hey, Karan, welcome. All of your amazing feedback as to what your experiences are. I'm gonna tell y'all something. So one of the biggest things that I told TeeCee, I think was this way back, TeeCee, that I said, I really was upset with, the way that customer service and customer experience has kind of landed in today's society. And some of the things that came up for me was just the fact that, I had a consistent measure of how I wanted my coffee delivered and shipped to me, right? Like I scheduled it out every morning. I'm like, yeah, I get my Dunkin Donuts. They're going to deliver me the same coffee. And then over time, I started having different experiences and I was really disappointed in that. Right. And I charged it to the game because when you've had such great experiences with a brand for so long, you tend to just keep going, right? You're just like, well, it could have been a hiccup but I remember the one time, TeeCee, and I'm going to call Dunkin' Donuts out on this because I remember calling them through, and I can't blame them fully because it was through Grubhub. And that's why we had this talk about Grubhub earlier in the year. I mean, in this month. And I was just interested in the fact that I just was getting delivered without the real components. Like I had a coffee delivered, but it only had creamer. It was like very weird. And so I was like, well, what's the level of care that's going into these things? And, it made me feel like we have to kind of look at these big brands the same as we do our own businesses because they're no different, right? They make mistakes. They deliver the wrong coffee, what I'm saying? They have employees that'll cuss you out, piss you off, right? So it really helped me to start digging a little deeper. And TeeCee and I started having these conversations and saying, what is really making us think so small about our business? Because we're all small businesses. And I said it before, like if you have less than 500 employees in the United States of America, you are considered a. And if you are operating in America, you know that any small business that has less than 500 people, like 500 employees, a lot of these businesses are thriving, right? And they have large offices, they have employees, right? Like clearly. And so when I think about, and I'll go into Dunkin' Donuts history, y'all, because when I think about even when we talked about Panera Bread and where they started, right? And we was like, it it was so amazing because the owner originally, this wonderful lady who just loved cookies, started a storefront named the Cookie Jar. And that's where Panera Bread comes from, right? And then we got All Bon Pond, and then, we're in the shopping malls and we're all the places. And now we have the Panera Bread. That was a journey for someone, right? Someone had to start where they couldn't just stay solo, right? We say solopreneur. They couldn't stay solo. They had to expand. And a lot of times our brands and our businesses are not expanding as big as they are in our minds, because I hear it all the time, TC. I don't know if you do, but we're like, oh my God, God's going to bless my business. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to travel the world, right? Like we hear these things. But you can't really do those things in a business that stays this small, right? And it's not that it's your it's not that the small business means that you're one person, because we just said small business is 500. Wait, I think I'm breaking up.
You keep going in and out, but you're good now.
Let me see, y'all.
I can hear you. No.
Um, let me make sure my connection is good, because I think I'm breaking on. Okay, so you can hear me good now, but okay. So I was just explaining, right? Because we have to kind of understand that small, the word small, can mean so many different capacities. For us in business,
Yeah.
by terminology, it means that you have less than 500 employees, right? Including yourself. Um, but some of us are thinking small as in, you know, well, I can just do it by myself and I can build this multi-million business. And so we want to look at the examples of other businesses that have done it and how they started off with just the one person, but they knew that at some point in time they had to really get outside of the box of just being that one person. And when I talk about Dunkin' Donuts, we talked about the history part, right? In 1950s, right? This is where they actually were founded. Dunkin' Donuts was founded by this guy named William Rosenberg in Quincy, Massachusetts, right? And so if you look at the past, Dunkin' Donuts in 1950 was actually named Open Kettle, right? So this was originally what the first restaurant was named, but then um, they named it Dunkin' Donuts. So it didn't even have the original name. Is TeeCee, can I stop there real quick? Isn't this interesting that all the companies that we've talked about this month, they all started with one name, and at some point in
Yeah.
time had to brand. Is that
You know, this was what I was because I just noticed because I'm like, is this supposed to be like a trend with expansion? Maybe I don't know. Don't get me wrong. So this is my opinion because while I was studying these people, it felt like it was a certain kind of framework, right? So if I need to move this way, I need to move in this direction, and so they kind of wanted to like they're totally obviously different brands, yeah, but they almost want to have the same kind of pathway, like lineup. Like they keep changing names, and at the end of the day, it looks like their end goal is no longer like the direct consumers and it's franchising. Now that is bringing me to want to ask that does it mean that as a small business owner you might get to this part where you don't want to work with direct consumers anymore, like your goals start to become um franchising, or will my direct consumer change space? Like when I look at these big brands, it gives me like so many questions, and I'm asking myself if I can have 1001 questions. Like if you're watching this right now or you are watching the replay, tell me what comes to mind for you. Do you get scared of expanding? Do you get scared of scaling? When you think about your next level of success, what comes to mind? Do you get afraid? Like, do you have this sense of fear? This is me asking, and I want to know what you think, right? So while Allegra is giving us the breakdown, tell me, right? You can plug it into the comment section. Let us know what you think about, scaling your next level of success. Do you think that you might, for some reason, end up diverting your line of purpose? Has that, come across as a fear to you in your business? I want to hear your thoughts. So share your thoughts with me, because this is beginning to look like a trend. But yeah, over to you, Allegra, because I thought about it as well.
Okay, no problem. Hold on, TC. I'm gonna switch over. To my phone because I don't know, y'all. Like this computer, I'm gonna throw it all the way in the trash. Um, Let me jump on my phone, TC, and let me see if this is gonna give me um better reception for y'all because I want y'all to hear this. TC made some really good points, and I want to break it down for why they did the rebrand. And these are real questions. Like a lot of times, we have the questions, but we don't really dig deep enough to get the answers.
Hold on, I got it.
And
Okay. Let me see. How do I do this? So I'm gonna take me off here. Let me see. All right. I think this is better. TC, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay, perfect. All right, this is so much better. So, I really want to emphasize the fact that when I look at the process, and like, so when I looked it up for Dunkin' Donuts, right, the guy that created this brand, which we don't know a lot about yet, but he started off with this name that he wanted, right? Like we all do that, right? How many of y'all pick a name for your business and you like, yes, that's it, honey? And this is something, right? I've done it. And then down the line, like 3 years later, you like, oh, I didn't change that name. And sometimes we adapt the name to new things, right? I've heard that happen before. And I think that this kind of teaches us because Open Kettle was the original name. This brand started in 1950, but actually changed the name in the same year. So when we look at, why that happened, right? I had to look that up. I had to look that up and say, why did they change the name? What was the real reason? Because we can speculate all day, but what was the real reason, right? Was it because a customer came to them and was like, I don't like your name? Because how many times have you, like, TeeCee, I don't know if you have clients like this, but I have had clients come to me and they go, yeah, I changed the name because people didn't like it. And I'm like, what? Like, so you changed it. So what did that have anything to do with anything, right? Did it mean that they weren't going to buy? Okay. Well, so did they buy after you changed the name? No. Okay. So then what did it matter? You have to know why you're doing something so that it's effective for the business and the bottom line, right? So if you're going to change the name, it better make sure to just bringing more money your way. And one thing it said about Dunkin' Donuts rebranding from Open Kettle to Dunkin' Donuts in 1950 was that it was driven by several strategic and practical reasons, right? Number one, descriptive branding. They needed a clear representation. They needed the name Dunkin' Donuts to describe the primary product that they were offering. The primary product that they were offering, not all the products they were offering, not the whole array of service. No, the primary product that they were offering, which was donuts, right? Or donuts and coffee, Dunkin' Donuts. And they made it immediately apparent to customers, right? Because that's what they specialized in at the time. So it was really important for them to attract those type of new customers, the people who might, you know, especially if they weren't familiar with like Open Kettle. Because think about it, if the name was Open Kettle and you were selling coffee and donuts, I don't know if that would have attracted me, right? Like, it matters. It matters. Your name matters. And so, however that came, they did it for the descriptive branding. They did it for the market appeal, right? Like they wanted to be catchy and memorable. So they picked the name Dunkin' Donuts because it plays on the popular habit of dunking donuts in coffee. That was an actual habit for people, right? You know how we say marketing is about playing on the emotions of the buyers, right? Most people, they look at it as a negative way because they're saying, well, I don't want to play on the emotions of my clients. Well, you're doing it one way or the other, because when they're ready to buy, they're experiencing some level of pain. And so you're telling them, well, let me alleviate that pain with this exchange. You give me money and I'll give you solution. Well, you're doing the same thing when you're looking at, the branding and the promotions and the marketing. Like, people have a habit of dunking donuts in coffee. So you're gonna make a brand that elevates that level of thinking and habit response. Okay. Oh yeah, I dunk my donuts. Let me go to Dunkin' Donuts. And then you have the brand that was, it made it more appealing and easier to remember. And this is one thing I want to stop here, because that word of mouth marketing, I tell people all the time, that is the biggest tool that you have in your database. I don't care how many ads you put out there, how many times you pay for marketing. If you don't have enough people having that word of mouth marketing for you, you're not getting the best value. And what Dunkin' Donuts did was it made it easier for people to remember. And so when we're picking our brands, and this is where I end, TeeCee, I want to hear what you have to say. When we're picking our
Yep.
brand names and we're like, oh, I like that name. Is it easy for people to remember? Because I've actually had people say, like, we've done market research focus groups, and we've had them, say, how do you feel about these colors? How do you feel about this name? What kind of vibe does it give you? And we've had people in those focus groups say, I just, like, they couldn't remember the name. And so if your name is not memorable, it doesn't have that marketing appeal. And so it could easily slip out of someone's mind just as easily as they met you. And now that's as far as your marketing has reached with that person. That's detrimental. But I'll pass it to you, TeeCee, because I mean we could talk all day about this.
No, no, I love the angle from which you're coming, because at the end of the day, while I was listening to you, we talk about branding. We actually even mentioned it last week, if you remember, when we were talking about, what branding really means. Imagine if somebody is trying to talk about, oh, um, I just had, this particular thing. I just had donuts, right? So donuts is relative, right? Like anybody can make donuts. I mean, I can make donuts. I make donuts in the house, right? But you see, what makes mine different? So I'm going to tell somebody else. So, for example, I'm happy about a certain kind of pastry, or where I got my donuts from. I want to be able to tell the next person. Now, if people are not able to talk about you freely because for some reason your name just keeps skipping out their head, or maybe your name is not rolling, through their mouths, as easy as they would want to. They'll be like, okay. Then they call something else, or they mention something else, or they just try to avoid it. Right now, that is bad for marketing. That is bad for sales. And so when you think about branding, you think about your name. What strikes a chord for people when they hear that name and when they call that name? Does it stick in the minds of people? Earlier when we started this conversation, I was saying that when we have conversations like this, we're not having these conversations because we just want to talk about how, maybe what the flaws or what the amazingness of these brands are. Mm-mm. We're trying to drive home a point here. We're trying to help you see that this brands didn't just wake up in the morning and just a boom, I'm now a big brand. They started off from somewhere. Now we're trying to get you into knowing that you can also be like Dunkin' Donuts tomorrow. You can also be like Panera Bread tomorrow. Now, if you're thinking, but those are product-based businesses, if you're a service provider, you can also be like a very big you have a very consulting, big consulting brand, or you then have, see, you don't have to think small because you are a small business. And that goes a long way with what? Your small, your branding as well. Listen, if you notice and you see this trend, you will understand that branding is a key factor with all of these big brands, with all of these people that we're talking about. So we talked about Panera Bread last week. Now this week we're doing Dunkin Donuts. Now, when you think about Dunkin Donuts, what do you think about? Who do you think about? What other brand do you think about? Ask yourself. I'm not going to mention names because Allegra is going to that, right? Think about it. Now, what makes Dunkin Donuts stand out from who you're thinking about right now? Something. Now, that's the same position you should sit down and picture yourself, picture your business, picture your brand in it. We started off, with the name, change of name, reformation of name, refining your name. I'm not saying don't change your names, but I'm saying that if every single time I try to look for you or maybe social media or anywhere and you're bearing something different, I'm like, the first thing that comes to my mind is, oh my gosh, this person isn't serious. Now, even if you're going to change your name, meaning you're going to rebrand into a different name, there should be a reason. I'm not saying obviously you don't have a reason, but if that reason doesn't make sense to me, like, you need to make it make sense to me because I'm your consumer, I'm your customer. So if it doesn't make sense to me, my friend, you just wasted your time, because your brand is not only meant for you to feel happy about yourself, it's meant to drive across a certain kind of message to your audience. So if your brand name to start with, or your entire brand doesn't do that yet, if people cannot hear your name or see a certain thing and remember you, then there's a problem. Now, if you're asking yourself, what do I take home from this? If you don't take home anything, take this. Go back to your name. How does your name sound? Right? When people hear your name, what does that remind them of? Does it align with the message you're passing across? Think about it, right? Allegra is also going to be sharing with us other aspects of Dunkin' Donuts and their progress. And while she's sharing, right, you want to also position yourself. Think about your business. Think about, now, how does this work for me? Because right here in throughout this series, we're talking about growth. We're talking about how you can go out of that space of, oh, I'm thinking small, oh, solopreneur, I stayed in that small space. I mean, you can be the only one in your business, but with proper structuring, proper systems, proper things at the back end of your business, you're functioning in millions and trillions and name it. It is very possible. The question is how. And that's why you want to learn from all of these big brands. So, to your take, Allegra, just piggyback to what you're saying. Personally, I feel like that's a smart choice and that's a smart trend, which I feel every small business should be conscious about. How we portray ourselves, what we call ourselves, what people think about what we call ourselves is very important as well. So yeah, I'll just get you to take the mic back because there's so much more about Dunkin' Donuts that I'm sure you'll be so happy to learn from. Over to you, Allegra.
Yes, it's really important, and everything you said is true because sometimes when we're at a level where we don't see the end result, we're not at the end result. It's really hard. It's difficult, and I've trained enough individuals to know, how to climb that ladder. And when you get to that point of the aha moment, you look back and you say, oh, I was thinking a little small, and it's okay because we are not necessarily taught that, right? How to really bet on something that big. Like, it's really about having faith. Honestly, it's about having faith that your
Mhm.
ideas and the things that you have inside of you are meant to be there, and they're meant to grow into the things that you envision it to be, right? That's a real belief that you have to have in yourself. And also a belief you have to have into other people, because as we are looking at the Dunkin' Donuts brands, we're looking at the history, right? We said that they changed a lot of dynamics of their brand in the first year. That means they did not wait to see, oh, well, will people get used to the name? Oh, they'll just get used to it, right? Like they were like, people probably came in there and was like, open kettle. Oh, I thought this was something else. I don't know if y'all ever had that, but I have literally done that where I've walked into a store and I've gone into someone's virtual space. It could be a website, it could be a landing page, and you're saying, I do A, B, and C, right? I am a strategist. I am a coach. I am this. And then go to the website, right? Which is like the front door to your business. It's like someone walks in the front door and now they see t-shirts and books and stuff that have nothing to do with what you said you do, or they see something else, and so I want to really emphasize a lot of these things because, TeeCee, you said it in your room yesterday, I believe, when we were talking about focusing on getting quality leads, right? And people get very confused at our businesses because we're saying that, hey, we're open kettle. And when they come in, they see donuts and coffee. So quickly, Dunkin' Donuts figured this out. And this guy is saying, I'm not going to let my customers suffer. I'm going to let them get what they're asking for, which is familiarity, descriptive branding, marketing appeal, right? So that when they say the name Dunkin' Donuts, I don't know about y'all, but when I be like Dunkin' Donuts, that's catchy. And it gives it that memorability that we're talking about. So is your brand memorable? Can people say it and just slide off the tongue real good? Like that matters. Brand identity, like the stronger your brand is, they did it for that reason as well. When you're talking about, how the name is and how that impacts your consumer, it helped them establish that brand identity around coffee and donuts. So remember when we talked about this, and we've done this in the past. Say it again, TeeCee.
Say what you want to say. I actually wanted to say something. It's silly before, but complete your statement, and I'll say what I want to say.
Well, I was just saying the donuts and coffee, really bringing that strong brand identity. I kind of said this before that there are different types of elements of your brand. There's your brand itself. There's your brand identity, right? There's your branding elements. There's branding. All of those are different, right? They play a part in each other, but your brand identity, it has to exert this value to people. They have to identify that your business does what it does. And whenever they come across it, they're always going to get the same thing. And when they talk about that, Dunkin' Donuts allowed them to establish their market for their direct consumer, the people who love donuts and coffee, and only them, that changing the name allowed them to really bring the core of their business to the forefront. But go ahead, TeeCee.
So I wanted to ask a question. So my question is a question that was asked. So Dunkin' Donuts had to change their name from that which has kettle in it, right, to what had donuts in it, because that was like their primary product. Now, the fear and the question I want to ask. So look at me as I'm just starting off. I'm afraid because I have a couple of things. So typically I will ask questions like, oh, but I have other things that I sell. What if people feel, or what if people think that maybe, for example, donuts is all I can afford, I can offer? No, that's a very typical fear that I see. What do you have to say about that? So that's why I was laughing. What do you have to say about that? I really want to hear what you have to say.
I think it's real. I think that's a real fear, because, business changes you. It makes you focus more on what's priority, right? And like naturally as human beings, we want to do everything. Like we want to serve everybody, we want to sell to everyone. We want to have all of our products exposed to the public at all times. But the truth is that people have to be guided. And in order for them to become loyal customers, right, you have to have a focus point on what what we would call whatever your main component of your products are, right? So like, for example, when you think about McDonald's, right, there's a certain product that you think about, right? And they focus a lot of that on their target audience. They don't say, oh yeah, come get the chicken nuggets and the double, mac or whatever they have. I don't shop at McDonald's, y'all, so I don't look at them. But the thing about it is that in order for people to see everything, right, they have to be able to focus on one thing. So Open Kettle may have had, popcorn and candy and, donuts and coffee. They may have had all of that, right? We don't know. But if all of their customers, like maybe like 70% of their customers were coming in getting donuts and coffee, why do you care to put everything out there, right? You have to see what your customers need from you the most. And when you get them in the door and you focus on that loyal customer base, right? What happens is that those customers will spread the word for you. They will talk about all the other things you have. They will buy the coffee, donuts, and everything else, and then when you actually market to people after they buy that main product from you, then you can give them the rest, right? You can tell them, hey, I also have this. I also have that. But when you overwhelm people in the market with everything that you have and you want to sell everything you have, number one, you're going to get overwhelmed because that's a lot of legwork. That's a lot of handwork. That's a lot of brain work. You're going to get overwhelmed, especially if you don't have a team. And you're going to overwhelm your customer. And whenever you have someone that comes to your website, and this is where I end, because I know TeeCee has a lot that she's going to break down for you, because this is what she sees and this is what she's solved for people. But when you work in overwhelm, when you just you're pushing out all these things, your clients, your customers, your potential leads, they feel that overwhelm. They feel you pushing all these things out there and saying, hey, I got this and I got that and I got this. Now they can't make a decision. Now they're like, you know what? I'm just going to go with what I know. I'll save that for later because it's just too much. So we have to make it so simple for people to be guided into what we call a sales funnel so that they can make decisions, in a very clear way. But go ahead, TeeCee. I know you have something to add to that.
I love what you're saying, and I wanted it to come from you. Why? Because the truth is, every time we talk about sales funnel, I always like to say this. People be thinking it is a tool that you just mobile up and then know. Listen, if you're really serious about business, it's all the power of one. I mean, we know how multi-passionate, how multi-talented you are, but there needs to be one thing driving people into your space. Like Allegra said, and she rightfully said, yeah, it's the fact that one thing has to drive people. It can't be everything. Everything is a bunch of confusion. When you like everything looks like everything. For me feels like nothing, right? So you want to be very specific, not specific because you can't offer those other things, but you see they have just one body, one head, and so they need to come in for one reason. That's the power of one. If you really want to be successful, you want to incorporate the power of one, like one product, one this, one that, one. That's basically how your funnel runs, right? And at the end of the day, Dunkin Donuts is not saying that I'm not going to give you other things. You can't get other things, but it's saying that this is the majority first thoughts, right? You have to remember me. Now, why do you remember me? Now, just because you remember me for maybe systems or you remember me for files, does it mean that you can't get other things from me? No. Does it mean you can't get a level of other supports from me? No. But this is how you remember me. And that's really all I care about, right? Because I want to be in your thoughts. Now, if you're all over the place and people are not able to pinpoint you into something, it's very hard for them to get to even talk about your business. So let me give you an example, right? So as a woman, right, I think I would use, because it's a typical example for women. You know, we are very prone to, even the in quotes, professional women that do not have time for household things. It's just a normal thing for to be a little bit, you know, into the home front, right? Now, this has nothing to do with either you're married or you're not married. That's not the point. The point is, as a woman, you have this whole tendency to be into your home. Now, when I mean into your home, I mean all the utilities that you need for your home to be comfortable for you, right? Now, if I want to go into a shop or I want to go into somewhere, I have one thing I want to buy, right? Like, it's usually one thing that I remember about that shop. Now, when I go into that shop with that one intention, right, I'm able to buy that one thing. And because obviously I'm human, I have needs. And this is the reason why you want to profile your ideal clients intentionally, because you know who they are. Okay. Now, all you need is that one hook to get them closer. Now, when they come to you, you can then open up your heart and say, hey, I know you need this, you need that, but let's start with this, since this is why you came. Now, after this, they're human beings. They have needs. Our needs are usually very insatiable. Like, we always have something, right? Now, after this, you say, oh, I have something to top it up. Oh my gosh, I've got you. What is it you want? And that's why you're able to keep your clients 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, able to multiply your sales from just one client. So that's a powerful strategy to leverage. Imagine Allegra be like, do this almost every single morning, right? Now, what this is saying, that if Allegra does the maths, do you know how much of her money has gone to just Dunkin Donuts? Do the maths. And that's because that's the attraction. But this doesn't mean if tomorrow, obviously, she's scanning through Dunkin Donuts website, she sees other things she likes. Like, hell, like I'm going to get my donuts and my coffee from this particular brand, and I need other things. I can as well just get the other things that I need because they have it. I remember I trust them enough to already buy my donuts and my coffee, so I can as well just buy every other thing that I need. But do I need to have chips, nuggets, this crocodile, lizard? I'm not saying they have lizard. I'm sorry, I'm just saying that. You know, crab, everything. and then some people will be like, oh yes, I have another thing. Oh, I do real estate plus chicken plus this, and then you mobile everything up together. Why? Because that is all you have. And so you feel like everybody should know this. Like, we would definitely know. But if you understand the structure, if you understand that it's really all about the power of one, right, you would start to see how you are able to make money that is substantial, money that is sustainable, money that would help you scale your business. Because, you know, going back to what Allegra was saying, she's talked about branding, right? We talked about the power of one. They're leveraging that sales funnel. That's a powerful sales funnel they have right there, right? Now, with this sales funnel of theirs, listen, what this is saying is that they have the yardstick to also attract possible and profitable investors. Now, what this is also saying is, because you have that, that's more money. So I'll pause right there while you think about it. So Allegra breaks the other aspect of it. Okay, this other part you would like it. Over to you, Allegra.
So I love how this conversation is continuing to grow, because, you know, as you're talking about the rebranding and why people doing it, and, you know, these companies are so different. Like, no one is mimicking another person. They're just growing their business. And we're finding that the similarities are very, you know, like, they're just across the board, right? The rebranding happened in the first year, just so y'all know, because we're talking about Dunkin' Donuts. We're talking about, you know, America runs on Dunkin'. Like, that had to come from somewhere. Okay. And when we look at where it came from, I looked at the background and we said, well, why did they rebrand in the first year? I mean, they were called, Open Kettle. And so we can assume that that was probably a lot of different things, right? And that's kind of how we all start off, with a lot of different ideas. But then if someone's buying products from you, like for me, TeeCee, my main, I had about uh, 4 or 5 different options when I started the business for people to buy services from me, right? And all of us start out like this. We go, okay, well, they can, buy a coaching call for 2 hours and then I'll charge them this much. Or, they can set up 30 days with me and I'll charge them this much, right? So we have to decide, like, what is the pricing going to be? What is based on the value, right? So we're doing all these things and we have all these different services, but I found over about a 6-month time frame that one of my services was being sold over and over and over and over again. I remember that. And I remember thinking to myself, wait, like, they're buying this same service. Everyone that's coming in right now is basically coming in and they're looking at it, but then they're buying this one particular service. And that service wasn't something that I was at the time pushing out, right? Like, it was there as an option, but I wasn't pushing it out. So when I started to see the trend of it, like, people need this opposed to what I thought they needed, that's when it really hit me. So we do the same in our business, the same way Dunkin' Donuts did it. This guy, he changed the name of the business because he probably saw that he needed a stronger brand identity. And in order for him to have growth and expansion and scalability, he needed, to TC's point, he needed to be seen and recognized and understood by customers everywhere. Investors need to know that you are going to grow that thing. Because if you're ever going to make more money in a quicker fashion, you want people to invest in you. You want you want investors to look at your business and say, you know what, I want to bet on that. And that's really what that is. And so we have to be very comfortable moving money through our businesses, right? We have to be comfortable receiving, spending, right? Investing. We have to be comfortable in all of these different avenues. So when I think about the growth and expansion that Dunkin' Donuts had to take, he was thinking about these things as he was a single solopreneur in his business. In the first year, he decided, I'm going to rebrand, and it was his decision. That's what I love about this story. It was his decision. No one came to him and said, hey, you should rebrand. And it was his decision. And he did it not because someone was going to give him money, but he did it because he wanted to make sure that he actually believed that the name Dunkin' Donuts captured the essence more of what was being offered. That was one. And then his vision was to create a brand that was synonymous with fresh, high quality donuts and coffee. So he really had to put this in play for himself, right? Like that, those times, TC, where we tell people it's not always about the physical work you put in it, but sometimes it's about the rest. It's about the time that you're able to think and process. And so, really having that vision and saying, like, what do I want that to look like? How's that going to feel for my customers? What kind of, what kind of a feel do I want them to have? That is the brand. The brand is what he created, which actually now relays into a feeling. Do y'all know that my feeling for Dunkin' Donuts don't change, even though they piss me off every so often, right? Like, they piss me off a lot. Like, they send me coffee without the coffee, but just the cream. And, they do all these things. But listen, the brand is the brand. I'm sold on it. And they've added things over time. And so when we look at the expansion over time, they started off in the 1950s, but they grew. So, I think we have to kind of, leverage this conversation to say you're always going to start with somewhere where, he had early growth. So he actually went from the 1950s, changed the name of Dunkin' Donuts in 1950. And then in 1955, he opened up the first franchise. 5 years later, he opened up a franchise. So the value of Dunkin' Donuts and him rebranding and him taking that market and showing people that they can do the same thing that he did. I rebranded it. I put this name on it. People love it. It makes them feel good inside. You can open up a store like this too. So when we expand, we've seen expansion from the previous story where Panera Bread started the way it did, and she expanded through investors and acquisitions, right? So that was that. But this is a little different, right? Because he's expanding just by opening it up as another franchise. And now that he started that in 1955, in 1970, Dunkin' Donuts grew to 100 locations. In 1972, they introduced Munchkin donut holes. Do y'all remember Munchkin donut holes when that came out? I was elated, right? Like Munchkin donut holes, and this is the thing, it came out in 1972. I wasn't even born until 1982. So that was out 10 years before I was born. I didn't even know about donut holes. So here's the thing, right? There are things that are in place because I don't know, because this is a national and an international expansion. So you got to remember that when you expand your business, you expand in areas that people want it the most. I don't know where he started the expansion, but apparently in 1972, they were making donut holes, Munchkin donut holes, which are those little, round donuts that look like they're supposed to go in the middle of the donut, right? And that was big because the reason why they did that was to make sure that they had more convenience and family type feel to it. And then and let me do this next two, and then I want you to comment, TeeCee, because that was the 1970s, 1980s. So this was only in a 10-year gap after he had really just franchised. In 1978, Dunkin' Donuts opened its 1,000th location. Oh my God. So we went from 100 locations in 1970 to 8 years later having 1,000 locations. And then in 1983, a year after moi was born, right? Dunkin' Donuts, the Lord, sunshine. Dunkin' Donuts began an international expansion, opening up its first store in Japan. So I'm gonna stop there, and here's the thing. A lot of times, and we got to look back at it because William Rosenberg is the owner. He was just from Quincy, Massachusetts, and I'm gonna look him up while we're speaking because I want us to debunk any type of nuances. A lot of people think, oh well, they must have had something already in place or they must have did something different. No, these people are just like you and I. They had a vision, they had a dream, they put it in place, they implemented it, and they didn't stop going. But the thing that I've noticed though, TeeCee, is that they were so amped for change for the market, not for themselves. They didn't care. Like none of this says, oh, well, they didn't want to change the name because, they really liked it. None of this says that they didn't want to expose their business to the public because it wasn't ready yet. The website wasn't done yet. None of this has anything to do with that. If anything, it's saying that they did it and they grew and changed things as they were going along the way. So I'll stop there.
I love this lineup of conversation right now because I'm not saying anything particularly. I want to ask us a question. And this questioning, if you're watching this, you're watching the replay, you can either drop your answer in the comments or you can go back home and think about it. Right now, while Allegra was speaking, I'm just here thinking, asking myself a couple of questions. And so I decided to ask you, listening, two of the questions I was asking myself. First things first, what do you sell? Tell me, what do you sell? Okay. Now, I'm sure you'll be like, what kind of question is that? Because you see, the truth is, so many of us think that we sell A when what we sell is actually B. Because we keep promoting A because that's what we think we sell, we're not able to sell, right, at the degree we're supposed to be selling. Why? Because we're yet to promote what we truly sell. So Dunkin' Donuts, for example, would say that, hey, or rather, I would say, Dunkin' Donuts, you sell donuts, right? And so that's your focus. But you see, the truth is, that's not what Dunkin' Donuts actually sell. And that is not what you're buying. You think Allegra is buying donuts. Allegra isn't buying donuts. You know what she's buying? She's buying affordability, she's buying convenience, she's buying quality food that is affordable at her convenience. That is what Allegra is buying. And that is what Dunkin Donuts is selling. Allegra was say
Well,
something, go on.
well, it's also a feeling, TC, because listen, I even like there are other stores that do that too. They sell convenience, right? They sell
Mhm.
affordability. But I'm gonna go deeper for you because it's a feeling. And that's why it's so important to make sure your brand matches what people are needing. Because if I didn't have the feeling that I felt about how Dunkin' Donuts can take care of me, it goes from the way that the stores look when I walk inside to the way that I'm greeted and what did I feel about their customer service when I call and tell them that my order didn't arrive right. It goes down from the ease of the systems and the way that they've set it up so that me as a consumer, that I have what I need at all times. That feeling has been attributed to Dunkin' Donuts, whether they have the store or not. So I think like we have to really look at that. Like, what are you selling? Are you selling a product or are you selling a feeling? Because if you're just selling a product, right, then people are really not caring about buying that. Like, that's just the truth. People don't care about buying products because they can get it at anywhere they want. They can go on Amazon, get it shipped to their door, right? Most of the time. So if you have something that you're selling, you have to make sure that people feel some type of way when they're looking at it, when they're connecting with it, right? And that's why when we have products and services that provide solutions, and after you're done, TC, I'm going to actually talk about the owner of the founder of Dunkin' Donuts, and him himself and who he was, because what he did in his background was the reason why the feeling was put into the Dunkin' Donuts brand. So I just wanted to elaborate on that.
I like that. I like that. So, refreshing on the question, two questions. What are you selling? Okay, ask yourself that question. Now, there is no right or wrong question. It's there's no it's just you understanding where that sustainable income is coming from, right? Because you see, your product, your services, um, it's not what is getting the sale. Yeah, experience, that's another thing. Okay, so you see right there that's basically what you should think about. What are you buying? Okay, what would people buy from you? You think people are buying your product? You think they're buying the service? Ask yourself, what exactly am I selling? So Miss Karen said, are you doing what you sell? Is it experience? What you sell, is it the feelings? What you sell, what is it? I can get fries anywhere. I could go to. Listen, okay? So ask yourself this question. If you're saying, oh, I have not made sale, if you like, get yourself 1 million followers. If you're yet to understand what you're selling, people, it's not because people cannot buy. People don't want to buy from you. You are the worst person on planet Earth. So people don't want to do business with you. No, it's not that. It's just because they just don't understand yet what exactly you're selling and why I should buy it from you. So you want to be intentional as to selling what people want to really buy from you. It has nothing to do with your product, has nothing to do with your service, because all of those are amazing. But what exactly are they truly buying from you? What do they really want to buy from you? Now that thing, feeling, experience, whatever you say, convenience, affordability, think about it. Yours should be different, right? Because that is what is going to set you up for success. That's going to set you aside from every other person, right? Like I sell donuts, Allegra sells donuts, the next person sells donuts. So why should somebody else come to my space to keep buying donuts from me? Not twice, once, not twice, not three times, like, yes. Now that is that thing I should keep promoting. That should be the framework I should use in my marketing pieces, in my messaging, in my everything. That should be your target. Okay, so don't go thinking, oh, we're talking big brands, Dunkin' Donuts, eating donuts. No, we're trying to ensure that you are able to pinpoint all of the juiciness that you would use in restructuring your own framework so that you can start to see real growth, not the fake growth that you want to portray to us, because we don't care. If you're hungry, we don't care. So don't come here telling us that you are living large when you're not. Your tummy will ache you to thy kingdom come. So go sit down and figure out what you're selling so that you start to put the real money in your bank accounts. That's my point. Okay, over to your Allegra. Allegra's cracking up. I'm
I
just gonna
am
just
because you know, it's really funny, and I don't have to come out of pocket for y'all because TeeCee will do it for me. Like TeeCee is so right. We have to take ownership of like our brands, and we all have ability to really do more. I want to just shout out Karan for listening. Thank you for being here, Queen, and just commenting, letting us know. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them in the chat comments for us. What do people feel when they see your brand? And that's one question I do want to present, because one of the things that I've noticed when I even read the story about the founder of Dunkin' Donuts is that even when I think about other brands, like we talk about McDonald's and Ray Kroc, right? Like he saw the feel of the brand when he visited McDonald's for the first time, when the two brothers owned it, right? If y'all saw the movie, he sat down and he didn't sit down and eat a burger. No, he sat down and had an experience, right? Like Karan was saying, he sat down and he was like, look at these families eating together. Like this is not a burger. This is like keeping families together. This is not just a burger. This is happiness, right? So what do people feel? Like if you know that the brand has created an energy around a feeling that you can pass down for generations, that's why y'all go to McDonald's. Y'all don't go to McDonald's because the burgers are healthy. You don't go to McDonald's because, to be honest with you, I actually, and I'm sorry to slide McDonald's in here on the Dunkin' Donuts measure, but it's true that we have to be realistic about big brands. They didn't make themselves big because they wanted to help everybody. Okay? They're not there because they're like, okay, I care about what everybody has to say. They're giving people what they're asking for, and people make the decision. And so even though we know that them chicken nuggets been sitting on them shelves for 6 years, you'll go in there and you'll get them anyway, because at the end of the day, they sell happiness. And no matter what that translate for, in your mind right now, it goes back to the brand. It goes back to the history of the brand. And so we have to kind of look at that in our own businesses. Do you want your brand to be that big? Now, everybody doesn't want that, right? Apparently, William Rosenberg did. And when he did Dunkin' Donuts, he was inspired. He was actually born in Boston, Massachusetts, and he grew up with a modest family. His parents were immigrants. He was a hardworking kid. So, like, he didn't come from money. Okay. So, let's just put that out there. In his early career, he actually left school at the age of 18, and then he had to help his family in the Great Depression. So, this man went through some stuff. He went through some stuff. He wasn't like a very privileged child. Like, he had to deal with real life challenges. He worked various jobs. He delivered groceries. He worked in a candy factory. Like, this all gave him insight into customer service in the food industry. Everything he went through in his early life gave him insight into what was happening with customer service in the food industry. And so when the war efforts happened in World War II, that started his path to being an entrepreneur, right? He worked at the steel shipyard, and then he saw that there was a high demand for food and beverage among the workers. So this man out here, working a job in the shipyard, and then he sees that workers are hungry. They're like, well, where's the food at? Like who bringing the grub? So he had an innovative idea. He noticed the demand. So he noticed the demand. A lot of us are building businesses that don't have a demand. Okay. So if you're going to build a business, the one thing I want to tell you to do is make sure there's a demand. If there's not a demand for your business, meaning like if people are already asking for it, please don't jump out and just say, I want to do it. Like, everything doesn't have to be a business. Some things need to stay a hobby. Some things need to stay a side gig. But when you have a high demand for something that can grow over time and have a massive market for it, then you can say, okay, I can see this as an idea that I can bring to the market. And that's exactly what he did. So he started a company called Luncheon Services in 1946. So Dunkin' Donuts and Open Kettle wasn't even his first business, y'all. Like that was his first business was in the shipyards, okay? Making sure that he provided meals and coffee to factory workers. And he used converted secondhand trucks to deliver food. Can I stop there for a second, TC? Because we're clearly going over time. Okay, I just gotta explain this. This man used what he had. He didn't say, oh, I can't serve lunch and coffee because I don't have the right trucks. Oh, I can't deliver that because I don't have the funding to make sure I have the right bags to put your food in. Oh, I don't have the straws to go with your cups. Like, no, this man didn't make any excuses. He just took what he had and he made sure that he delivered those meals because that's what was the demand. Getting the food, getting the coffee to the workers. And because he did that, it says the success of this business inspired him. So sometimes we do a business and we go, oh man, that was going to be it. Like, I'm so mad my business failed. Maybe your first business wasn't to actually succeed. Maybe it was just to inspire you. Maybe it was just to get you on the go to say, oh, I can actually do this, right? But that wasn't the end all be all. And he actually used that as an inspiration to focus on a specific segment of the food industry. So he didn't go out and say, oh, I want to just sell all kind of food. No, he went to a specific segment and he started selling that food. And that's when he opened Open Kettle in 1948. So TeeCee, this was the birth of Dunkin' Donuts. What do y'all think about that?
I think it is amazing because we all, no, not we all, right? Some of us think we could just start our businesses and boom, we blow up. Boom, we start to make six figures. I mean, like six figures has become a thing that everything you want to say now is six figures, right? Which is fine. But we all think we can just come in right here and just the right experience we have in Germany, and then it just blows up, right? But Dunkin' Donuts has made us understand that there is power in progress, there is power in process, there is power in timing, there is power in patience, there is power in not giving up, there is power in understanding that you should have a goal, right? Where you're headed to. However, do not be restricted by the pathways in which you get to your goal, right? Do not tell yourself, okay, you know what? If I don't do this thing, it means that business is not for me, entrepreneurship is not for me. Oh, people are telling me I have to do digital products. So if I sell digital product for 6 months and it doesn't give me 7 figures in 2 days, it means that I'm a failure. Who says? Why are you giving yourself all of these benchmarks that doesn't even hold water? Right? There is power in process, there is power in progress, there is power in patience, there is power in understanding that when it comes down to entrepreneurship, it's not going to end today. I mean, if you're doing something right now, you need to move, like you need to expand, you need to scale. It's the progress that's the success. It doesn't necessarily end at one space. Right now, just because you're starting off here doesn't necessarily mean that this is where it's going to end, because your vision is so wide, it's so big that it should live even after you, right? And I feel like that's the take that I'm getting, and that's what I'm going to I'm taking off, right? If you see the progress, you will understand that it was all boiling down to a certain kind of space if you notice, Allegra, the very first business was delivering food, right? The second one was had to do with food and all of the good things about food and all of it. And then he kept streamlining. You see that part? Streamlining. So every time we talk about streamline, put that structure. It is not because we want you to spend money. It is because we want you to stop wasting your time and start thinking about longevity. Start thinking about substantial growth, sustainable growth. Start thinking about how far your vision is going to go even after you. That's what we're thinking about, and that's what we're talking about, right? So that's my take. That's my take from Dunkin' Donuts. And I feel like as a business owner, as a as that person who is looking to um growing and scaling, there is no there's no there's no there's no restriction. There is no end, right? There is just progress. There is just trusting the process. There is just believing in yourself and ensuring that your goal, your vision is basically what guides your pathway and the action that you take. I leave us with that. Thank you so much, everyone. Allegra, over to you.
Yeah, we definitely got some meat in this today, and I thank you, TeeCee, for that because we've kind of taken y'all through a little ride longer than we usually do. Karan said she never knew this about Dunkin' Donuts. I appreciate that, Queen. We need to talk about these things because we are actually, we are building brands ourselves, and if we don't understand what it looks like to do that, which is really what a lot of people hide from us, right? Like if you were like me as a kid, I asked 50 million questions. And some of those questions were, well, how did you do this? How did you do that? In the business. And, people will tell you, oh, I just did this and I just did that. But they'll never tell you all the different nuances and challenges they went through to get it done until you get to a point in your journey where you're hitting that wall. And some of you are doing that, hitting that wall, right? You're like, oh, I'm not getting sales. Oh, they're not responding, to my messages. They're not opening up my emails. They're not, responding to my DMs. The people that said they're going to buy, they're not buying. And so we have these different things that we get stuck in, right? And what we like to teach through these processes, because myself and TeeCee, we offer assistance when you can join our coaching programs. Oh, I have a coaching program. TeeCee's not going to coach you, but she will work with you after you get that in order, right? Because you have to know, just like this, I don't know who he had to coach him. I don't know who this, the founder of Dunkin' Donuts had to really guide him, but think about his history. He came from a shipyard immigrant family. Like this man dropped out of school at 14. I'm sure he didn't know what the heck he really was doing. But I'm sure that, being a person that is really willing to do what it takes, you're going to do what it takes. And that's the difference, right? Because I work with people who are high achievers, but making sure that they have what they need. Because high achievers usually, right, we don't like to ask for help. We don't like to get the support, right? We're like, oh, I can do it. But I love working with high achievers like myself because we tend to really self-sabotage this process. It's so easy, y'all. If you literally follow your desires to get your business out there in the market, right? We set you up with all the tools to do that. Some of those tools, right now, when we look at like the story of Dunkin' Donuts, right? And I'll end with this. I stopped when he expanded in the first store in Japan. Now that was in 1983. Now remember, not one point in this story from the time of inception, time that he started this business, that he has asked for an investment, that he has gotten an investor from. At no point. He has literally turned this into a franchise and opened up 100 locations and then opened up 1,000 locations. And then in 1996, Dunkin' Donuts introduced its first bagels. So TeeCee, this is why we don't put everything out there. Because I'm sure, after really looking at the market and seeing people love donuts, what else do they love? Right? Oh, bagels? Okay, cool. Let's give them some bagels. Testing that I'm seeing. Then in 1997, they started offering breakfast sandwiches. Like, how many of y'all go on Dunkin' Donuts and order coffee, and then you're like, now, oh, they got breakfast. Oh, now they got refreshers. When they bring out these new items, they're now reintroducing it into the market to people who are already loyal customers. And if a new customer comes into play, then that's great. But this is amazing looking at this. Refocusing on coffee branding. 2006, they launched a rebranding campaign with the slogan, America runs on Dunkin'. Now, I think I remember that in 2006, okay? And so as this is happening, y'all, it's continued growth, it's continued expansion. It's looking at the way that even you as an individual, if you look at this story and the way that this whole thing has happened. TeeCee, I'm sorry. This whole thing has happened. It has started with, this concept, this idea from a man who was relentless and clearly knew exactly what he wanted to do and didn't stop. Now I'm going to end with this too, because I want to say, what year was it that they started to do more with their expansion and get public? So it wasn't until 2014 that the company actually went public under Dunkin Brands Group. So, the takeaway for me in this entire story and the stories that we shared before, and I just want to emphasize that whether you're a product or a service-based company, it doesn't matter, because we use both here in this series, right? This is the end of this series. We covered Grubhub, we covered Panera Bread, we covered Dunkin Donuts. We didn't get to Chipotle, but we love Chipotle. We'll talk about it another time. But I think that it's really important for us to understand that, Grubhub, they weren't physical, they were service-based. They started off as a digital menu for restaurants, right? Like, they were never physical. And then you have Panera Bread, that had products. And then you have, now Dunkin Donuts that has products. And they're both using the service-based company, Grubhub. So we've kind of seen where, as a company, as a brand, you have to, number one, induce a feeling along with your products and services from the beginning of your brand statement, from the name to the tagline to even some of the sounds that they hear in your brand, right? And we can talk about that a little bit deeper. But yeah, I just want to say, I want to end that. Let us know your questions about this. If you are, thank you for joining us, Karan. Thank you for sharing your comments about not knowing about this, because I know that a lot of people have zero knowledge about the past, but that's why we're sharing it. And also, when you are in this space where you're like, yeah, I need that for my business, or I need to work on that, don't do this on your own. Myself and TeeCee have created spaces for you in our programs. TeeCee has a way of working directly with you. There is no question here, right? When I coach my clients, a lot of times, the confusion comes from trying to keep it all in their heads. And so we want to get all that out. We want to get all that out of your head so that you can start planning it out, putting your business on paper, and making sure you have a strategic approach to how you market. It's very overwhelming when you are marketing something and you're doing it every day, which you should be making money in your business every day, okay? Because this is a confident builder for you. But you got to be able to market yourself appropriately so that the people who are already needing what you have are now accessible to you. And if you're doing that on your own, I would just encourage you to get some type of support, mentor, coach, consultant. I'm always here for you. TeeCee is also going to help you with implementing that thing. TeeCee, tell them, what specific areas you are working with your clients on right now, because I think that I've been getting a lot of pain points around overwhelm, right? Of, trying to figure out what to do first and how to organize the business and become more disciplined. And I also see that there are people that are not understanding systems. They are very confused about the technology and what to put together to make sure that their system is working properly. So tell them what you're working on right now with your clients, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay, so I love that question. As you can see in the background, you have the Systems Academy. Now, somebody asked me a question and said, is it about tools? I said, see, the truth is the reasons why your business isn't working the way it should work, the reasons why you feel so overwhelmed, the reasons why every single time you want to start to trample and step on every single tool you come across is the fact that you do not understand the foundational, basics, those little foundational things when it comes down to your business. Those things that get you off overwhelmed, those things that ensure that you are standing in your business, those things that you call the systems, the right systems that you put in place in your business, those first sets you put in place in your business so you're able to level up your business for success. And when I'm saying this, I don't mean if you're, oh, but I'm yet to start my business. Like literally, you should have these 6 systems that we're going to be dissecting in the Systems Academy in your business, literally before you even get deep down. Because the truth is, we're talking about overwhelm, we're talking about you being confused all over the place, we're talking about you making money that you can't see, we're talking about you pushing out social media content every single day, right? But you have nothing to write them about, right? No, nothing. And you're asking yourself, am I sure this business is for me? Now we're going to be dissecting all of those things. Now, just so you know, okay, this is a group implementation program. We're going to bring up all of those systems. We're going to break them down. We're going to ensure that you are able to activate them in your business. So we are doing 6 systems all together. So if you want to level up your business, put in the right foundational structure in your business so you do not keep feeling overwhelmed, so you know what the back end of your business is saying, so that you know the tools that you're using, because we're going to be learning so many tools, right? Especially the tools that you need right now in your business. Some people still do not know how to use StreamYard. Like literally, Allegra was talking about it the last time, and I'm like, yeah, it is not bad. It's not a crime, but it's what you need in your business that you do not know how to work around, right? Some people do not even know that they need a CRM like yesterday. Some people do not even know that what they're doing right now in their business is not even email marketing, it's something else, but they think they are. So that's basically what we're going to be breaking down in the Systems Academy. So if you want to get your business up for success, you want to start to see sustainable income, not the one you get 6 figure tomorrow, the next time you're crying because nothing in your account, right? Pull up, ask me your questions. You can always DM me your questions. You can always reach out to me. You can always say, TeeCee, give me the link. I'm in. I just want to plug in. Yeah, whichever way is fine. Okay. Make sure that you are in the party so that you're able to do the things that your business needs the right way. Okay. So that's basically what the Systems Academy is. You can always go to systemsacademy.online/home to find out all of the yummy things that we would be implementing together in your business. All right. That's it. Thank you so much, Allegra, for giving me the opportunity to talk about this academy. I love it. Okay, it's you talking. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Over to you, Allegra.
Okay. So we're gonna get out of here. Thank y'all so much. And I just said thank you all for joining us today. We're gonna come back again. Myself and TeeCee, we partner up in a lot of different ways. We do rooms on Clubhouse where you can join us to hear our conversations. We also, do a lot with community in the Women into Networking Win community. So you have to join us in that fashion, because if you're a woman and you just need that support, that's what that is there for. And make sure that you tell us, like, what are you experiencing in your business? Because the thing about it is you have to bet on yourself. And if you're stuck in any way, we have the solutions, but it's really about, or do you believe that it can happen for you? And this is what I want to leave y'all with, because it can. It can happen for you, just like it happens for everyone else. There's no exception to the rule, but we are really about working through this process, right? Like TeeCee said, there's power in the process. Working smarter and not harder, because at the end of the day, if you are, trying every single day to get a result and you're not getting it, we have to look at what that process looks like. And most of the time, it's because we're working really hard and we want to get you to work smart. And so I'm really excited for all of you who are in your new season. If you're a new business owner, shout out to you. You're going to definitely have to be willing to go through this process and be guided and supported. I had to do it, so I know what that feels like. And also for you all who are growing your business and you're in a space where maybe you're making some sales every now and then, but you really want to amplify those sales to make sure you have loyal customers. And I will say this, TeeCee said something earlier that really hit me. If you take care of your customers from the beginning, they will stick around for the long haul. And most of the time, that's where 80% of your revenue is going to come from. Not by getting new customers every day, but by nurturing the ones you already have. All right. So y'all go out there and be great. We'll see y'all back here next week.